Day 7. The Principle of Action. The proof of your faith. The great awakener of excellence. Action is the proof that you believe what you say. It turns on acceleration in life. Action frees you from the doldrums of idleness and gets you off the loafer's bench. It blocks senility and stifles cynicism. Action takes you out of the gallery of spectators. It invigorates, energizes, and vitalizes you. Action is the exciting road to accomplishment. It is the key to success, the doorway to excellence, and the seed of achievement. Action transforms dreams into reality. It upgrades your living standard. Action thrusts you out ahead of the crowd. It gives you respect and prestige, increases your self-esteem, makes you happy, and cures loneliness, boredom, and mediocrity. Action depends on knowledge and trust. Trust in yourself, in your ideas, in other people, and in God. It turns knowledge and trust into power and achievement. Secret number 7. Recognize that life's best is plentiful and available to you when you put your new knowledge about yourself and God into action. Real believing is always proven by decisive action. The process of achieving faith is, number 1, knowing. Number 2, analyzing. Number 3, choosing. Number 4, deciding. Then the climax of that faith is number 5, action. Claiming God's best because you know it belongs to you. The greatest secret to the success of our world ministry has been action. We act because we believe. From our youth, we were taught A, to believe in God, B, that the Bible is true, C, that Jesus is the way to God, D, that He loves and wants to help everybody, E, that each human being is infinitely valuable, F, that if people are informed about God's love and power, they will believe on Him and become happy, healthy, successful, and productive citizens. As young people, we made the decision that the greatest fulfillment we could enjoy in life would be to help other people achieve these goals. Action puts us on the road to reach, touch, lift, heal, help, and save hurting, lonely people all over the world. Action thrusts us out among Earth's millions where our faith can be of practical value to needy people. Action saves us from being holy sermonizers and makes us life energizers for millions of neglected people in over 100 nations already. Action motivates us to teach only the truth that can be demonstrated in everyday human lives. Action keeps us from being pious theoreticians. It thrusts us into public involvement, where we continually put our theories to the test by lifting human persons from mediocrity to excellence. Jesus Christ is the living example of action. When you recognize Him at work in you, nothing can stop you from succeeding in life as you follow His example, proving your faith by your corresponding actions. Jesus was an action person, an action teacher. He said, "Everyone who hears my words and does them is a wise person who builds his or her house upon a rock. The rains descend, the floods come, the winds blow and beat upon that house, and it does not fall, for it is founded upon the rock." Matthew 7:24 through 27. Obviously, the rock is doing what the Word of God says. If one hears but fails to act accordingly, his or her whole structure falls apart. James used strong words when he wrote about this subject. He said, "Be a doer of the word and not a hearer only, deluding your own self." James 1:22. Knowledge is not enough. To transform that knowledge into power, act on what you know. Walk in it, practice it, test it, prove it, build on it. That is what we have been privileged to experience in over 100 nations during more than 6 decades already. I'm constantly proving that these principles work. I put them to the ultimate test in human life experience worldwide. These principles lift the fallen, give hope to despondent, bring miraculous health to the incurable, sight to the blind, success to the desolate, esteem to the fallen, dignity to the guilty, happiness to the hopeless, prosperity to the struggling, vitality to the weak, friendship to the outcast, courage to the fearful, hearing to the deaf, enthusiasm to the listless, beauty to the undignified, and life to the dying. It all happens when, after we teach these life principles, we succeed in getting people to put them into everyday practice. That is the action principle. Faith without deeds is barren. Another translator says, faith without corresponding action is a lifeless thing, James 2:20. The one who only listens in order to store knowledge is not the producer of results. Jesus talked about our big connection with him in these words. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you abide in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. John 15:5-8. Only the doer produces the fruit of God's best in life. John applied this vital action principle when he taught about love. Do not love in word, neither with your tongue, but love in deed and in truth. 1 John 3:18. What is the secret to dynamic action? God is alive and at work inside you. It is God who is at work in you, causing you to be willing and to do his good pleasure. Philippians 2:13. God is able to do more than you can ask or think, according to the power that works in you. Ephesians 3:20. When you absorb these powerful principles and put them into action, you release the ability of God at work within you to do more than you can imagine. Acting on biblical truths means God is acting through you. Lo, I'm with you always, Matthew 28:20. His ability is your ability. When you do his word, it is he who actually does the creative action. Greater is he that's in you than he that is in the world. 1 John 4:4. You are energized by God's mighty spirit at work within you. You labor together with him. He is the great awakener of excellence in you. Jesus takes nobodies and transforms them into somebodies. When you know that he has entered your life and has recreated you by his excellence, you act with dignity, like royalty, like a somebody. God in you opens the door to life's best. He is the person maker. He takes demoralized people and gives them new ambitions, new desires, and new dreams. He imparts health to the sick and strength to the weak. He always goes ahead of you. He leads the way. He says, follow me and I will make you. Matthew 4:19. Believe him enough to trust him. Commit yourself to him and to his lifestyle, resolving to experience his best. Count on the power of Christ at work in and through you. March with a strong forward step. Pull yourself up from the quicksand of self-pity. Reject all negative ideas, influences, counsel, and pressure. Say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. How do you do that? Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of your faith. Hebrews 12:2. Always see him in action through you. As the art instructor said, keep your eyes on the model. Don't watch your hands. With God, nothing will be impossible. Luke 1:37. All things are possible to you when you believe. Mark 9:23. Acting on the yes in life. Believing is action. One does not really believe something until one acts on that premise. All things are possible when you act with the knowledge that God is at work in you. Knowledge only becomes power when you act upon it. Many people who can quote sacred scriptures or philosophers often contradict all they have memorized by their actions and their conversations. The poverty of their language, their empty ideals, and the limited outlook on life demonstrate that they are plagued by commonness, that they grope in mediocrity, and that they live unstable, selfish lives. They are afraid, insecure, and without purpose for the good of others. Knowledge is meaningless until enthusiastic commitment and decisive action transforms that knowledge into power for the good of yourself, of your loved ones, and of your community. The most natural thing in the world is to act on what you believe in. You buy an airline ticket and commit your life to that airline company when you board that plane without examining its equipment or its performance record. You prove your faith by your action. You put your money in the bank, money that you worked hard to save, without examining the bank personnel's credentials and usually without verifying the bank's success record. You trust your lawyer, butcher, grocer, and what about your physician or your insurance company? You act positively because you believe in these institutions and people. You live a yes in life. You can get nowhere living a no. Yes is invigorating, inspiring, and uplifting. Act on the yes in life. No is restricting, diminishing, and demoralizing. Refuse a no in life. Just be sure that the yes is based on God's love plan for you. Then trust Him who is at work in you. Some people wonder if they can trust a power that is invisible, but the greatest powers are invisible. Love and joy cannot be seen or measured, yet they are powers that produce some of life's best treasures in the form of happiness, peace, and contentment. The sounds of a radio and the images transmitted to your TV screen are invisible to your sight out in the open air, yet the lives of millions are regulated by them. Electricity is not something you can go out and touch in mid-air and analyze, yet it keeps society functioning. Law is invisible, untouchable, yet you are governed by it. The North and South Poles and their magnetic fields are neither visible nor touchable. Yet every airplane that flies and every ship on the high seas is dependent upon the power they emit. All of these powers have existed since the creation of this world. They were there all the time, provided by God for all people. But these powers had to wait until human persons began to 1. Have thoughts about them, 2. Seek proof of their existence, 3. Conceive dreams of how to use them, 4. Develop designs for appropriating them, 5. Perfect plans to harness them, 6. Commit action to utilize them. In that same way, our Heavenly Father has created every provision, tangible and intangible, for total happiness, health, success, fulfillment, and peace in life. Those provisions are real. They exist in God's domain. They are God's will for you. They have always been available to you. They constitute your habitat, your estate. They were created and provided for you. But they must wait until you entertain thoughts about God's power at work in you, producing super living. Until you start looking in the Bible and elsewhere for proof that these good things can materialize in your life. Until you begin to dream about how your life can be affected by God's abundance. Until you conceive the design of a better lifestyle for you. Until you focus on plans to possess this good life. until you commit yourself to live in happiness, wealth, success, and achievement, relying upon God at work in you. You are destined for success, created for achievement, and chosen for these truths. You are being reborn into a new life. The secrets have existed for millenniums, but they have had to wait for people to develop, to open their mind, to dream, to plan, to decide, and to act. Traditional religion has created such obstructive and paralyzing mental attitudes that many people needlessly live out their lives in mediocrity and poverty, because they have been programmed to believe that they might fall from God's grace if they become successful or wealthy. They will tolerate sickness and physical misery, believing that these are expressions of God's loving care or of His chastisement, never knowing which, but welcoming either in a perverted form of pious resignation. They will accept problems, defeat, or failure without resistance or objection, believing that in this way they are pleasing God and proving their humility and resignation to do His will. Only religion could persuade people with such bizarre logistics. I said religion, not the real Christ life. God in you is as rich, powerful, abundant, and dynamic as He was before He came to live in you. He did not change when He entered your life. Jesus did not reduce Himself to your level. He exalted you to His level. You have been made an heir of God, a joint heir with Jesus Christ. Romans 8:17, Galatians 4:7. Be aware of your identification with Him. He is alive in you. All of the provisions of God's best in your life are available now, but they must wait in their invisible form until you recognize, accept, and act upon them. Reject dogmas, counsel, religious creed, or influence that tries to desensitize your ambition for life's best. Never allow society or religion to pour you into the mold that they decide befits you. If they can indoctrinate you in the image they choose for you, and if you live as you think they think you should live, then you become their slave. You belong to them when you allow others to regulate life for you. Never allow society, tradition, or peer pressure to stalemate or to limit your finest development. Jesus expects us to keep learning. He told us to make disciples. A disciple is a learner. I am a learner. Jesus is limitless. He never stops revealing Himself. I will never stop learning about Him. Civilization has barely touched the edge of scientific discovery. The superabundance which God has created here tells me that there are innumerable wonders that we can continue discovering about Him if we do not become indoctrinated or absolute and stop thinking. Releasing God's creative power. A single drop of dew on a fresh rose petal was microscopically photographed for a TV special. Inside that tiny globe of moisture was an entire world. Infinitesimal creatures could actually be seen mating, eating, moving in organized patterns, all in a drop of fresh dew on a rose. Female species were actually photographed in the act of giving birth. The tiny drop of dew was, in itself, a microscopic universe of life. The depths of the seas or the mountains, the infinity of the universe, or of life in a tiny drop of dew has not even begun to be comprehended. Yet traditional religious teachers would have us believe that God has fully revealed everything there is to know about Himself, and that we are to bow to antiquated dogmas and relegate God to primitive pontifical pronouncements. Once a religious doctrine is approved and a position is adopted by an ecclesiastical council, it becomes a criterion for indoctrination. And once people accept it, their minds are regimented and fixed, and they stop thinking. God has a fascinating new world for you to discover, as long as you do not allow your brain to be harnessed and regimented by others, as long as you're willing to entertain a new concept, to have a new dream, to reach for a new horizon. You are not here to be stalemated or stagnated. You are here to become God's best. All things whatsoever you desire, when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you will have them. Mark 11:24. All things that you desire already exist in abundance. Otherwise, you could not receive them. They are just waiting for you to act upon the desires that you have for them. When you do, God will materialize them in your life. All inventions are simply the result of someone's dream, plan, and action on the basis of a provision which God had already made and that already existed. Faith is seeing the unseeable and acting upon it as though it already existed in tangible form. We call those things which be not as though they were. Romans 4:17. We look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. 2 Corinthians 4:18. Things which are seen were not made of things which appear. Hebrews 11:3. Or we could say, what we see was made of things that we cannot see. This means that the unseen world is more real than the seen world, because seen things were all made of unseen things, which existed in God's unseen domain before He materialized them in our seen world. Everything that you desire already exists in God's domain. It is only waiting for you to know about it and to believe it, then to transform that knowledge and faith into power by action. The power which created the world cannot be seen. The best of life already exists for you in God's realm, where it awaits your recognition by faith and your action to experience the things that you desire. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews 11:1. What do you hope for? What do you want? Do you dare to want life's best? Has your religion stifled your desire, clouded your dream, or benumbed your aspirations? Would you like to have good health, more love, success in business, a better job, a good career, freedom from debt, health, happiness, achievement, freedom from fear, more self-respect, self-dignity, self-esteem? All of this already exists in God's realm for you. It has your name on it. It belongs to you. Do not permit antiquated indoctrination to block your reach for these good things in life. God is everything good that you can desire. He created this world of wealth in tangible form and in abundance, and for you. The fact that He transformed so much of the unseen world into tangible, touchable things that we can see and feel and experience is proof that He wants us to enjoy those things. What things soever you desire, Jesus said, you will have them. Mark 11:24. Seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. Matthew 6:33. Your Father gives good things to them that ask Him. Matthew 7:11. All things are yours. 1 Corinthians 3:21. We can know the things that are freely given to us of God. 1 Corinthians 2:12. His divine power has given unto us all things that pertain unto life. 2 Peter 1:3. No good thing will God withhold from them that walk uprightly. Psalm 84:11. They that seek the Lord will not want any good thing. Psalm 34:10. Your Father knows what things you have need of. Matthew 6:8. Make a list of the things that you hope to receive, to own, and to do. Believe in God's love plan and trust His promises enough to act on them, depending on God at work within you. When you trust God's dream for you enough to put actions with your believing, that releases God's creative power. All the things which you have been picturing in your mind and spirit begin to materialize just as a grain of wheat germinates, grows, and produces after its kind. Your self-value, your identity with Christ, your desire for good things, your choice and decision power, your knowledge of your Father's wealth, your vision of the new you, and your action that corresponds to this knowledge and faith releases the same creative power of God as was released when He created the world, opened the Red Sea, provided manna from heaven, or water from a rock. Your faith in action releases the same power that was released when Jesus healed the cripples, restored the blind and deaf, fed the multitudes and raised the dead, or when Peter and John lifted a cripple to his feet, or when Paul raised a dead man, or told a lame man to walk. Start and you will go places. When you decide to pursue life's best, Jesus said, "Lo, I am with you." Matthew 18:20. He is in you. Fix your dream so clearly in your mind and spirit that you can see it. Write it plainly on cards, to place on mirrors, in your car, your wallet, on your desk, at your workbench, in your lunch container, in your kitchen, and wherever you can see it and think and dream about it. Refuse any influence or counsel, suggestion or idea that contradicts what you have decided to pursue and experience. In Matthew 14:28 through 33, Peter saw the Lord walking on the water and was so inspired that he wanted to do it. And Peter walked on the water. Then the wind blew and Peter quit looking at Christ and began looking at the circumstances. He began to sink. But when he looked back at Jesus and cried out for help, Jesus lifted him from his sinking dilemma. That is what He will do for you. In Mark 2, a crippled man was carried to Jesus. The house where Jesus was teaching was so jammed they could not get near the door. They believed in Jesus' power to heal him and they acted accordingly. They tore the tile from the roof and proceeded to lower the man on his bed with ropes and place him before Jesus. The Bible says Jesus saw their faith. Mark 2:5. He saw their faith in their actions. The result, Jesus forgave the man his sins and told him to arise, to take up his bed and to go his way. Mark 5:11. The man did not hesitate because of his paralysis, but he did what Jesus said to do. And his action released the creative power of God to materialize his miracle. He was made whole. They brought a man to Jesus who had a withered hand. Jesus told him to stand up. Then he said, "Stretch forth your hand." In other words, do something. The man put forth all of his energy to do as Christ has commanded, and his hand was restored. In practically all of Christ's miracles, there's the clear lesson that one must act, must do something in order to obtain what one desires. It may seem impossible, but do it anyway because God is at work within you. Your action by faith releases God's creative power within you for the impossible. The things which are impossible for you are possible for God. Luke 18:27. For with God nothing will be impossible. Luke 1:37. A man was carried to a meeting who had been shot through his spine. For 16 years his legs were useless, fixed in a squatted position and withered to little more than skin and bones. All those years he moved about bearing his weight on his hands and swinging his body and bony drawn legs between them. When he listened to the principles we were proclaiming to the public, he was transformed in his attitude about God and about himself. He discovered his own self-value as a creation of God. He discovered that he could actually have God's best, which for him was the restoration of his legs. He welcomed God into his life and became so happy and convinced that Christ was at work in him that after prayer he put action to his believing. With the help of a friend, he pulled himself up, and wonder of wonders, new feeling rushed into his legs. They straightened out to their full length, and he stood upright for the first time since his spine had been shattered by the bullet. The man walked and ran, showing the huge crowd his miracle. Being a soldier, his case is well known, a matter of government record. He has traveled and has spoken in churches, schools, and public auditoriums, sharing with people the wonder of his miracle. Action transformed his faith into power. Heaven is never reached by the person who does not act. You honor truth by putting it to work for you. The songwriter underscored this principle in his verse. A bell is not a bell till you ring it. A song is not a song till you sing it. Love in your heart is not put there to stay. Love is not love till you give it away. The idea is always action. I say, listen and you will hear and be heard. Look and you will see and be seen. Reach out and you will touch and be touched. Search and you will discover and be discovered. Start and you will go places. Expand, stretch yourself. Jesus was always an action person. Most teachers explain things. Jesus did things. He could have given discourses about the honor of dedicated labor. Instead, he just worked in a carpenter's shop. He could have explained theories about temptation. Instead, he went into the desert, confronted the tempter, and conquered him. He could have detailed the philosophy of happiness. Instead, he attended weddings, banquets, parties, and shared happiness with people. He could have talked endlessly about the infinite life of a soul. Instead, he just raised the dead. He could have taught entire seminars on the value and importance of children. Instead, he just took them up in his arms, loved them, and blessed them. He could have lectured about the urgency for people to lift each other and to support one another. Instead, he just went and helped people and transformed their lives. He could have given valuable lessons about the quality and worth of womanhood. Instead, he treated women like he treated men. He healed them, blessed them, shared life with them, and even commissioned them to propagate his message. He forgave a woman taken in adultery and restored her dignity. He drove the demons out of a lady and transformed her into the first messenger of the resurrection. He could have taught weighty lessons on the equality of human persons. Instead, he just treated everybody the same. He wept when a friend died. He regarded the lowest the same as the highest. He washed his followers' feet and dried them with a towel. He gave the same attention to beggars and lepers as he did to priests and dignitaries. He could have lectured on the fact that spiritual things are more real than material things. Instead, he just went out and walked on the water, multiplied bread, and went through locked doors. He could have preached a long, accusing sermon about the sins of the crippled man and explained how his sickness was his punishment. Instead, he just forgave the man and told him to rise up and walk again. He could have lectured endlessly on the need for people to forgive one another. Instead, even when he was being spat upon, mocked, and killed, he prayed for those who drove the spikes in his hands and feet, and for those who thrust the spear in his side. Father, forgive them. He could have announced profound theories about God. Instead, he just said, "Follow me. I am the way. If you have seen me, you have seen the Father." Jesus was not a man of theory, nor a promoter of religious doctrine. He was not a philosopher. He was a man of action. One translation says, God is the energizer within you. Philippians 2:13. The same God does all the energizing. 1 Corinthians 12:6. With God at work in you, you are energized by His life. God empowers you with strength by His Spirit. Ephesians 3:16. As long as you treat this knowledge as a philosophy or a theory and wistfully dream about what it may mean to you someday, His power will not be manifested in your life. Now is the accepted time. Now is the day of salvation. 2 Corinthians 6:2. Now is when you are what God says you are. See yourself as God's partner now. Now you have infinite value. You are identified with Christ. You are connected with abundance. All of God's good things are yours now. Now is when all of these secrets are true. God is in action in you now. Salvation is yours now. God's health and wealth are yours now. You are a new person with new power now. Now your life is different, changed, transformed. You are a new you. The miracle Jesus lives at your house now. Expand, stretch yourself, believe, then put action to your faith and release the power that produces God's best in your life now. Theodore Roosevelt said, "The credit goes to the person who is actually in the arena, whose face is smeared with sweat and dirt and blood, who at his or her best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at his or her worst at least failed while daring greatly, so that his or her name would never be among those cold and timid souls who know neither defeat nor victory." D.L. Moody said, "I like the way I'm doing things more than the way you are talking about them." The doer is far superior to the critic, and the one who strives stands far above the one who surrenders. I call this principle action, TNT. Action today, not tomorrow. The winning crowd does not wait on things to happen or wonder at things that happen. They make things happen. They do it by action. God cannot act until you act. The ball is in your court. The next move is yours. No one else is responsible. Not your parents, your boss, nor your community. The apathetic and coward laments each failure with lazy submission, moaning, "That's the way the ball bounces," or "That's the way the cookie crumbles." The believer takes charge. The action person says, "I'll bounce my own ball," or "I'll navigate my own vessel." The believer makes things happen. He or she changes things. Pine caterpillars have been placed end to end in a circle with food in the center. They will follow each other until they die of starvation, with plenty of food within smelling distance. The greatest waste is to permit one's life to be spent under the influence, domination, or leadership of someone who is negative. Associate with big people. They influence you to think big. Little people make you feel and think little. They retard your progress and destroy your self-esteem. The only person who restricts your progress or obstructs your happiness, health, success, and prosperity is the one who negatively influences your decisions. Life is up to you, no one else. A chain's strength is not measured by its strongest link, but is limited by its weakest link. The world is full of capable people with the talent and gifts needed to go to the top in life. But they live at the bottom because they lack the will to take inventory and to act decisively. Someone said, "It is not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dark that determines the winner. Energized by enthusiasm. I've revealed these 7 secrets to life's best for you because my wife and I were blessed enough from our youth to have observed them, then to have tested them globally. They have brought immense happiness, healthy living, material abundance, fulfillment in marriage, and super success to our lives during the 54 years we lived and ministered together. I'm committed to giving my remaining years to continue sharing and teaching these vital secrets to as many people as I can possibly reach, in as many nations as I'm privileged to minister in. This book gives you faith in God. It gives you sound reasons to have faith in yourself as God's offspring. It shows you why you can have faith in your life's purpose. Today, a new beginning is being seeded in you. Yesterday ended last night with all of its failures, fears, loneliness, sickness, and despair, or with all of its triumphs, victories, and rewarding achievements. Today is new with new opportunities. Do something, even if it's imperfect. That is better than doing nothing perfectly. Be positive. Let Jesus energize your life. Let Him turn on the flow that makes you glow. He breathes miracle life and miracle power into you. Seeing your life in rapport with God releases enthusiasm in you for real living. And enthusiasm is energy. It is power. Enthusiasm derives from the words en theos, or in God. With God at work in you, His energy is released in you, and success, happiness, health, and prosperity are your rich harvest. Today, when I step off of an airplane and walk across the tarmac or pavement of some foreign airport, I'm energized with enthusiasm because of the vision I see and the goals I have set. I contemplate the great audiences that I will be addressing, the uplifting influence that my teaching will have on that country and in her people, the lives that will be transformed, the suffering and sick people who will be healed, the failures in life who will grasp new hope and reach out for new success, the broken homes that will be restored, the fearful, the insecure, the lonely, and the unloved human persons who will discover their value in God's love plan. All of that releases a flow of joyous, uplifting enthusiasm within me. I am powerfully energized for action to bless thousands. When you contemplate the 7 secrets revealed in this book and apply them in your life, fresh enthusiasm will surge within you. New, noble purpose will be focused for your life. You will be motivated for action. The very word believe is symbolic of a believer that has no human limitations. Believers are power people, action people, enthused people, energized people. The supreme miracle available to you is your ability to learn and to know your right to choose and to go. It is your power to visualize your goals as though they were already tangible. It is your privilege to take action and to pursue the best in life. You are the custodian of all of that power right now. Anything in life that is good and that you desire is within your reach. It is available to you right now. Things that make life worth living, the achievements, inventions, discoveries, advancements in industry, science, and art have all flowed from the creative power and the commitment of people who believed in their value, who dared to desire to reach higher, who believes in God's wealth, who dreams of a better way or a better life, who decided on a goal, who committed themselves to action, who fought on against obstacles until they won. You are one of those winners. Amen. You know the secrets now. Your future is like a block of pure white marble. You hold the chisel and the mallet in your hands. What comes from that block must first be vivid in your vision. So pick up your tools and begin. Keep your eyes on the image that you see. Keep chiseling. Never quit. You can shape your future starting right now into the manifestation of your greatest dream. The same God who created Rembrandt or Leonardo da Vinci created you. Those men used their talents. They lifted their paintbrush or chisel day after day. They dreamed and they acted. At first imperfectly, but never quitting, and they won. Glory to God. Life is a glory, not a grind. You have the master artist at work in you. He chisels with your hands. He creates through you. God works when you work. You and he are co-workers. 1 Corinthians 3:9. So the choice is yours. He is ready when you are. You can either wring your hands and keep losing or roll up your sleeves and win throughout the rest of your life. In all labor, action, there is profit, but mere talk leads only to want. Proverbs 14:23. Action is the big secret. Do something. Focus your finest visions. Find a need and decide to do something to meet it. Find a desire and resolve to do something to fill it. Find a hurt and determine to do something to heal it. Find a problem and purpose to do something to solve it. In helping others get all of the good that they desire in life, your own life will overflow with God's best, and you will light the way for the less fortunate to follow. With awareness of these principles, you will never impair God's work again, or demoralize his ideals, or discredit his dream, or dishonor his plan. You will never condemn God's creation or limit his power, or accuse his redeemed. You will never put down what God uplifted, or insult his nobility, or betray his trust, or make ugly what he created beautiful, or impoverish what he enriched. The greatest treasure that you've discovered in this book is your aroused ambitions, your renewed courage, your revived hopes, your new possibilities, and your decision to be better, happier, healthier, richer, and more fulfilled. Now you will not only attain the good life for yourself, but you will uplift, inspire, and encourage your world. What you now know is a sacred trust. It lifts you. It will lift people. Say yes to your finest dreams and live with that yes ringing in your ears. Sense the delight of the good lifestyle, of achievement, success, dignity, respect, and health. Make life a glory, not a grind. Put beauty, happiness, riches, and color in everything you think, say, and do. Let your life show God at work in you. Mother Teresa had a vision to go into Calcutta's slums and give dignity to the dying. She verbalized her dream, doing something beautiful for God. A renowned artist was asked to make a speech at the unveiling of his marble sculpture. When the veil was withdrawn, his only words were, "There is my speech." Life with loving and creative action based on knowledge of God's love plan and faith in his promises is powerful and creative. It produces the best. Its harvest is tangible. That kind of life needs no eulogy in words. Decide what you want. Analyze why you want it. Determine when you want it. Picture it before you. Plan your steps to get it. Write your goal and repeat it. Then go for it and stick with it. My wife loved to say, in trying times, never stop trying. In hard times, get harder. In tough times, get tougher. In weak times, get stronger. Take control of your life. Be an action person. Never expect circumstances to be perfect. Remember that knowledge, dreams, and even faith are not enough. Action is the power igniter. If there is fear, deliberately do what frightens you and destroy the negative power of fear. Commit yourself to action, then go. Never wait for an emotional surge. Think in terms of now, not tomorrow, not next week, not next year. Break the static grip of inaction. Do something. Give it all you have, and life will give you all it has. And God's life has plenty. Say to yourself, I've been put here to be happy and healthy, to live in abundance and succeed in life. I will never apologize for my happiness, health, success, or abundance. I will put my talents and abilities into action and set myself to achieve life's fullest and best. I do not have to suffer now to be worthy of happiness in heaven. I am full of God's life now. The Master is at work in me. Being created in God's image and placed here on this earth is all the authority I need for success, happiness, health, and prosperity. I am in control of my own life. I have the power to believe and to decide the level of life I will settle for. I prefer excellence to mediocrity. I accept full responsibility for my thoughts, decisions, goals, and actions for the results of my life. I will never hinder my own success, happiness, health, or prosperity. I deserve life's best. I am surrounded by it. It is my rightful estate. God put it here for me, and He put me here for it. I am talented. I have a good mind and the power to control it. God is at work in me through the abilities He has entrusted me with. I will not wait for the world of good things to come to me. I couple action with my believing. That is the proof of my faith. I choose life's best. 60-second secret, day 7. Action is the proof of what I believe. By action, I transform my knowledge into power, turning my possibilities into realities. All things are possible when I act with God at work in me. Action produces the rich fruit of God's best in my life. It releases His power in me. He awakens excellence in me. Mediocrity, failure, and weakness belong to those who are afraid to act. I shall never allow religion or tradition to stifle my desires, cloud my dreams, benumb my ambitions. God is everything good that I can desire or need. When I act, He acts to materialize His best in my life. He is my energizer. I am resolved to go for life's best. God says yes to my finest dreams.